Let's face it, getting older sucks. Getting older in the age of social media is even worse. Do you hate it when people tell you to age gracefully? Do you want to know how to live your best life at any age? Well, so do we. First rule, don't call me ma'am. Now, here's Jodi Miller.
Hey everybody, welcome to Don't Call Me Ma'am. I'm Jodi Miller, and don't fucking call me ma'am. Today I'm so excited. I know I say that like every time I have a guest, but like this time I mean it. I'm just kidding, past guests. No, I really do mean it. I love this guy. I've been friends with him now. I feel like it's like almost 4 years, 4.5 years. Before this, I like really hated him, but now like we're really good friends.
Right.
He is an actor. He is a comedian. He is a writer. He is a producer. He works on the show that I work on, Funny You Should Ask, and he has a new hour special out right now. Put your hands together, and I know you're not driving anywhere because where are we going to go? Start clapping right now for Mike Merrill. Yay! The crowd goes wild.
We love Mike. We love Mike.
So first of all, this time last year, well, like a month ago, you were actually recording your special.
Yeah, it was June of 2019, so a lot's changed.
Yeah, a lot has changed.
Yeah.
The world,
things are a little bit different.
Yes, it is. So you self-produced this special, which is always very impressive to me. I love when people are like, you should just do a special, just do it. As if we can just be like, great, I'll just jump up anywhere for an hour and just bang that out. Like there is so much work that goes into it. And because we work together on the daily, on Funny You Should Ask, I got to see a lot of that process. But tell me, like, first of all, you had a lot of roadblocks, even with like the theater. Like what did you have to do? Like, tell me the whole process.
Yeah. So, initially you kind of have to get the idea in your head and your heart that you want to do it. Cause it's a huge undertaking, especially when you're producing. If you have other people producing for you and you're just performing, it's a little bit easier, but I was producing cause I have control issues.
Oh, we'll get into those.
Yeah.
We're talking about those.
Yeah. When you choose to make that decision of self-producing, then you add a bunch of extra things to it. So it's the hiring of your cast, your crew, your post-production staff. Right. It's choosing a venue, even down to the way that the set looked with my set designer. It's all of those things. There was a lot of roadblocks, some of which were money, which is always kind of an issue. I funded it myself. There wasn't like some fund set aside. I didn't do online fundraising, which is something that I probably could have and should have done, but I just wanted to get it done, and at some points you kind of just, if you want to do something, you have to do it. So money was one, time was another. Like you mentioned, we were working together on the show, so that takes up a huge portion of the middle of the day, and so that leaves nights and weekends to do all the other minutia and things that you have to wrap up for the special. So it was a huge undertaking. When I finished performing it that night, I was physically and emotionally exhausted. I couldn't fathom how much it was going to take out of me to do that. And this is the third special that I've done on my own, but it's the first that I've done to this extent with, where I put so much into the production, and just my crew was top notch.
Right. Well, it looks amazing. It looks amazing.
Thank you. Yeah.
So you did one taping, right? You did one, right? And you edited it down. I mean, to me, I feel like everybody knows this, but like the editing is one of the most important things, is having a really great editor.
Yep.
And a really great post-production crew to make it just look spectacular. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I think, all of the other things obviously add to the look of the special. And of course you have to be funny, and unfortunately you're not. So there was a great editor that made you look hilarious.
Well, I'm beyond funny, is what you mean.
That's right. You are actually beyond. There's actually no word. There's no earthly word
it's a separate category. I wasn't
really
going to come on here and brag, but
right.
you
No,
led me
yeah.
to it.
I mean, you know how like dogs can only hear certain pitches? Like that's where your comedy is at certain levels where you're like, you have to be almost, like non-human.
And like a dog, I have a bone. I don't know how that relates, but
oh, I shared an office with you.
Time.
I know all about the dog and the bone. No, I mean, obviously you're hilarious. You've done so many of my shows too. The C Word, Stand-Up When. We've been on a lot of shows together. You're incredibly funny, but it's obviously, it's really difficult because you were wearing so many hats, and as a creative, you want to just focus on your comedy. You want to make sure every joke is exactly where it needs to be. It's such a huge misconception for so many people that comics, can just run a joke once and you've got it. Like those jokes had to be, run so many times. Yeah. And even when a joke is, run so many times and you've got it down, you could easily just deliver it like incorrectly or stumble on a word or miss the timing for whatever reason, you know what I mean? And this is like, you're recording. So of course you can like stop and do it again, when you're doing a taping, but you want to be in that flow. You want to be in that zone. And I feel like, don't you feel like anything over like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, you pretty much know within the first 3-4 minutes that you're in the zone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll also say too, the thing that was kind of different about this special was not different, actually I did this in my other specials, but there were probably maybe 10, 15 minutes worth of jokes and material that I hadn't done before.
Oh, wow.
And I did that on purpose just because I have this thing where we run our material so much, especially when we're doing hours, that people have heard it before. Yes. So I have this thing where I kind of want some of, especially a special, because that's the word special is in it. Like this is literally the culmination of years of material. And so I wanted to put in stuff that people hadn't heard before and that I knew that they hadn't heard before. There's also, as you know, something very special about doing jokes for the very first time.
Magic.
There's something about it that's different. You don't know, there's not a safety net. So you don't know where the laughs are going to come. You don't know where the pause is going to come. And I kind of love that. And I liked it for the special. So there was a bunch of stuff in there that was new. I also ad-libbed. I did some crowd stuff. I wanted it to be just like a show, it was being recorded. Because I feel like a lot of times when we do television or we do specials, we put all this extra pressure on it where it has to be, this is my chance. This is the moment.
This is it. I'm about to get discovered. This is the one.
This is the time. And, in my earlier days of doing comedy, I kind of took the approach that every show has equal value. Like even the dingiest, dirtiest, hood rattiest open mics to doing television shows, the actual performance has equal value to any other show.
I agree.
Now, there may be stakes outside of it that you can say, well, these stakes give it some different weight, but the show has equal value. And so if you take that approach, then when you do television, then when you're doing specials, you're not nervous about the special itself, the performance, or doing new jokes. And that's not to say I didn't have nerves, but, I wasn't nervous about the moment of it.
Right. I think that's the best attitude to have. And, when I was teaching comedy and I still, when I coach younger comics, I remind them, I'm like, it doesn't matter if there's one person in the audience or 1,000 people. I'm like, that person or people came to laugh. They came to be entertained. It doesn't matter if you're in a dive bar. It doesn't matter if you're in a stadium or a club. You should always go up there with the attitude, like, I'm going to make that person laugh. And that's my job to, talk about stuff that I find interesting, funny, relatable. And I want to, entertain them. So and I always tell, a lot of comics, younger comics are like, well, I don't want to do the same material because I have some friends that are there that have heard it before, or I've said this joke so many times. But the reality of it is 95% of the audience, with the exception of a special when you have almost, all of your friends there, but like for the most part on an average show, 95 to like 99% of the audience have never heard those jokes. So, and even the people that have heard those jokes, they're still funny jokes, but it's important to remember that for those younger comics out there, that you have to deliver it with the same enthusiasm you had the first time you delivered it. And you're right. When the first time you try out a new joke, there's that sense of excitement. It's coming out of your mouth. And sometimes it is like magical where everyone is like, oh my God, that's the best thing ever. And sometimes it is a train wreck where people are like, what did you just say? You just said what? And you're like, well, I was just kidding. Just wanted to make sure you guys were paying attention that was a bad joke.
They're like, what? You do this for a living.
Exactly.
Okay. Wow. I guess anybody can do this. I'm going to do it now.
Yes. You never want anyone to leave from your show and say, I guess I can do comedy now. Anyone can do it. You're just letting anyone on stage now? That's probably not the reaction anybody should be aiming for.
Right.
So how long, all right. So after, we always think, building up to that, you're wearing all these different hats, you do it. And then so you shot it mid-June of last year, and then the real work actually starts. And what was that process? And I'm just talking about getting the special ready to go. And then you had a whole nother process of like, where is it going? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what was the process like right after you shot it?
Yeah. So immediately after, I probably didn't do anything related to the special for, 2 or 3 weeks. And then we kind of jumped into it. And so thankfully, I ended up, the person who directed it, ended up editing it as well.
Right.
So I had 2 editors. So this is something that people will kind of like go through if they produce. You may have multiple people who take part in your post-production, not just the different responsibilities, but you may end up firing someone because things don't work out. So that happened in this case. I had an editor who was very experienced. He had done good work on other projects, and not to demean any of his work, he's still a great editor. Sure, he's a good person. It's just his style and the amount of visibility he wanted to give into the process wasn't something that I was comfortable with. So, and that's also something that you have to be cognizant of if you are someone who's interested in self-producing a special, is you're hiring your entire staff. So you can't be someone who says, I'm just not the type of person who fires someone. We'll just use a different word, because you may have to get rid of someone who's working on your project that doesn't mesh with your vision. This is your ultimate vision.
Yeah.
And part of the reason that you do something like this is such you have total control over the look, the feel, the pacing, everything related to it. So anyway, so got rid of him. Director ended up editing it. We spent, I don't know how many hours, countless hours working on the special together, editing. Color correction was another thing. We sent it off to color correction, then got it back for the edit. Post-production sound was another part of it that I had to sit in. So these are all processes that I had to sit in on to get the specificity that I wanted. And and these people do this for a living. So it's not that they're not competent. It's that, again, you want what you want. So
comedy's subjective too. So what somebody thinks is very funny might not be what we were going for. And also, and I've had that just with so many projects that are, comedy based, like, putting together, clips from Stand-Up when somebody else is editing it, they're going to use a clip that I'm like, why did you find that was funnier than this? Or why did you cut it off right before this line? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I'm not saying they're wrong, but they're wrong. I'm not saying it, but I'm saying it. But it's our vision when it's our project.
Right.
And it happens all the time when you're working with other creative people that have egos that are like, oh, I know how to make this funny. And also people that come from the world of comedy don't necessarily understand all of the different types of comedy. So somebody that's working in sketch or improv hired to work on a stand-up special, it's all different. It's all different types of comedy, different timing, different, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And he had edited other comedy specials before. Right. And even then, like, we saw certain things differently, my director and I, but we meshed great because he's a great person and we come from a comedy eye, right, which helps.
Yes. So, and you can compromise. It's the people that are like, I kind of know what's best, or they, they dig their heels in the sand, or they're, you know what I mean? They'll do it, but all right, it's like that type of personality. Like, you can't, all of us know, and we work collaboratively, with a large group of other, funny people on Funny You Should Ask. And, just being in the rooms when we're pitching ideas, pitching jokes, questions, somebody else might come up with something that everyone in the room is laughing at, and you're just kind of like, that's not that funny. But we know, like, you've got to compromise. You have to be like, well, if everyone is laughing, it's just maybe not my style of humor, but it's obviously funny. Do you know what I mean? It's like one of those things. So, and I think because we have that, we've worked with a lot of different personalities and types of, humor, we're able to compromise and, find a middle ground with stuff like that. Now, again, when it's your project, you have the final say. But sometimes somebody can, your editor, your director can be like, I feel like let's just try this and see. And sometimes they're right. Sometimes you're like, you're right. You know what? Yep. I was stuck on a certain way, but it was an outside, pair of eyes that could see something a little bit different. So it's more about, I think, compromising too.
Yeah. And I also just say too that leadership or being an executive producer or being a boss isn't about telling everybody what to do. Right. Ultimately, it's just about making a final decision. But along the way, that doesn't mean that other people won't have ideas that are better than yours or much better than yours. Yes. You just have to be open to them and then get to the point where you say, I agree with that, or I don't. Yeah.
I think that like applies to every aspect of life too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People that, I definitely had that, especially in my younger years, just being so like, I'm not going to do that because it's not going to, you know what I mean? Not even giving it a chance.
Right.
And then you're wondering why you're in the exact same place 10 years later. You're like, why haven't I moved at all? I'm not going to change anything about me, but I don't understand why I'm not moving forward.
Yeah. I was that way about comedy for a long time. You and I have both been stand-ups for a long time. And when I was younger, I was like, look, I only want to make money from stand-up comedy. That's how it has to be, and that's it. And then,
and that's what I'm saying. And it's just going to happen like that. That's it.
You all know it's true. And that's not to say that like 99% of comics that are performing today have other jobs. Like they have, and so that's not to say that I didn't realize that I wouldn't be doing things to support comedy along the way. But my goal at that time was to get to stand up and just say, okay, fuck it. This is all I have to do. And one thing I want to say that's really important and that I realized as I got older is that having multiple streams of income as a performer is really important. You don't want to just rely on one thing because most people are multi-talented. So you're not just a comedy brain or a comedy mind. If you have other talents, utilize those so that your comedy decisions don't have to all be based in money.
Yes, that is a great way to put it. It's funny that you say that because yes, for me, I only got into comedy to further my acting career. And I was like, so dead set on like, I'm an actor and that is it. I will do the comedy to open more doors. But the second I can leave that and just act, that's what I'm doing. I wouldn't listen to anyone who was like, yeah, but you're getting offered gigs in comedy. I'm like, I know, I'm going to do it, but I'm an actor. Like, do not call me a comic. And then when I moved out to LA from New York, I was like, well, that's it with my comedy career. Like I did it. I've got the experience. And then again, I started getting, offers to do shows here and there or go on the road or feature for someone. And I was so just like irritated. I was angry and pissed. I was like, I'm an actor. And then finally I was like, okay, I had to embrace it because I'm like, why am I resisting something that's obviously flowing? And you have those moments where you change, I changed my description from an actor that does comedy to a comedian who can act. And then, you know what I mean? Like, and if I didn't start doing comedy, it wouldn't have opened up every door to writing, to producing.
Right.
I think it's just, when you're young, you're so just stupid. You're just dumb as fuck. You're just like,
we get in our own way.
Oh, yeah.
Can I just also talk about just the reason why I wanted to do the special?
Yes, please.
Probably.
Were you just paying homage to me?
Important.
Was it like a tribute to how amazing I am?
How do I answer that in a way that's nice, but also truthful? Can I get back to you?
Yes. In your next special, I think you can tell me the reasons why you dedicated the first one to me. Okay.
The first 20 minutes will be dedicated to Jodi.
Thank you.
So one of the things that was really important to me about doing this was ownership and obviously the control of kind of where it went and how I did it.
Right.
Normally when people do, and I'll just speak about stand-up right now, but normally when people do stand-up on television, the benefits of it are exposure, their short-term money, and then it's also something for your ego. And so when I did this special, I realized that you can accomplish all of those things, but it's going to be different and it's going to take a different type of work and a different type of approach.
Right.
So I'll go back to ownership. Ownership was super important to me. Normally when we do something on television as comics, we don't own it. We don't even have the right to license it. We often don't get any back-end money. The reason that ownership was so important is because back end, which is residual type money or syndication type money, is ongoing. It's something that exists forever.
Yes.
And you can create that for yourself when you produce something yourself. So that was the foundation for wanting to do the specials. I own it. I own the profits. I make all the decisions with it. But with that said, you have to realize that many people have tried that and tried to make it successful and make a lot of money from it. It's extremely difficult to do because even if you have a fan base, the infrastructure is something that you have to create. How do you expand beyond your initial fan base? So that's one of the challenges to it. But I felt like in this moment, saying something about ownership, maintaining control, and then just doing the work to figure out how I get it to the people that I want to see it or that want to see it.
Right.
Is like, I'm willing to do that work, and so that was the kind of gist behind it. So let me just back up to the process. So the process, when we finished this special, we got done post-production.
Right. The
color was great, sound was great. We did send it out to just about every premium cable and streaming service in town.
Okay.
I would say about 40% of them gave no response, that's the Hollywood no. That's is what it's become.
They just ghosted you. It's like dating.
Nobody. You're like, okay, give it a few weeks. I didn't. About another 40% gave polite declines. And then there were two options that I had to go with. So actually one option. So one declined, but liked it enough to express interest in working with me on producing my next special, which is great because I love this particular group, and it's a company that I've been fond of for many, many years.
Right.
The other option was to go with a service that puts comedy into millions and millions of households. The problem was with that, I wouldn't have got compensated in a way that I thought the special was worth. And I'm not out here to be pimped. And so when you look at the dollars and you look at your ownership, I decided to take it that way. So it's not like, it's not a decision you don't think about or you kind of struggle with, but the ultimate goal is ownership for me.
That's great. So how did you land on like Eventbrite, which is amazing? Because I don't think, I mean, I didn't know that they were like doing it the way they're doing it. I think it's just a very cool, how did that all come about?
A lot of searching. I was blessed to come across them. Initially, I was going to create a website under my production company, which is Rules Aside, and just have a standalone website, just send people there and do it that way. But then the capital investment that would have been involved in that was more than I wanted to spend at that time, especially because I hadn't earned any money back from the special.
Right.
And the special cost thousands and thousands of dollars.
Right.
And so, you know, I said, okay, how do I, you know, what's a way I can get it out and still kind of, and so with Eventbrite, essentially the infrastructure is there. They take care of the overhead. It's their platform, but I don't mind that because I could customize the website address to something that I liked. So basically what it meant is that I would spend nothing to house and host the video and use their platform. They take a little bit off the top, but not much. And so they market to their own Eventbrite people. The entire infrastructure is there, the ticketing, the pricing, the all of it's there. So it was just very simple for me.
And it's like a well-established company. Everybody knows it. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things too, where you don't want to just go with like, you know, Cool Ticks.
Yeah.
Something that everyone's like, what? You're with where?
Yeah. And also when you create a website, like people are like, what the fuck is this? You know, bigbootycomedy.com. I'm not going to buy any special from there.
Oh, I'm going to buy everything
you are.
from Big Booty.
Yeah. That's where you get all your stuff.
I have a membership there.
You're a VIP.
I'm a VIP there. Well, I think it's really amazing, and all the info is going to be listed on my bio, guys. So you're gonna catch it. Soliloquy. How did you come up with that name?
So it's actually more of it's actually a monologue. So theater people in here will be like, "Oh my God, speak your language." Calm down, theater people. Put down the cream.
We're all jerking off right now.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. But soliloquy is someone speaking to an audience, but it's as if the person on stage doesn't know. So really what I was doing was a monologue, because I did know I was speaking to an audience, but I didn't want to call the special monologue because that sounds dumb as fuck. So I called it soliloquy because I thought it was
you could have just called it talking.
Just TED speaking. Talk. Kind of funny.
But Teddy Talk, so that you don't, you know, infringe on their name.
That's true. I don't want to get sued.
Theodore Talk.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and, you know, I feel like a lot of Black stuff, I mean, this was a lot during the 90s, but, you know, kind of got pigeonholed into like titles would end with a Z or I-N with the apostrophe, and I was like, no, man, I'm just gonna do a regular word. Just you know, people may have to look up and find out what it means, but that's good. They learned something.
That's right. But you just educated them.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And you do have a lot of knowledge, and I know this about you because we work on a trivia show.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, and I'm assuming it's probably the most of the people out there, Mike and I shared an office together. You're welcome, Mike. It was probably the best, you know, few months of his life. Can't seem to recapture it. You've been chasing the dragon ever since.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of cat videos.
Far too many.
No, never. I don't think that's possible. And no matter what you say, like, I know that you secretly like love them and probably still watch them to this day. You just, you know, because it makes you think of me. It's totally fine.
Can I tell this story about us real quick?
Yes, and then I have a story. Go ahead.
It's probably the same. I think it's the same story.
Is it?
So, yes. So there was this one time when Jodi and I were in our office together.
It's the best story.
Was listening. I don't even remember what was the.
Okay, so all right, it is the same story. So I'll start out, then you can jump in. So like sincerely was looking for a fact. So on our show, you know, we come up with an idea about what we're going to write, you know, something that's, you know, trivia based, a fact, and then we have to do research. So it was definitely a dating question. So I needed to do some research on some sort of dating stuff. So that initially brought me to YouTube, and, you know, like all of the titles, you know, they catch your attention, like how to win back his affection, how to get him back, 10 things a girl should never do, how to know when he's interested in you, how to get that restraining order lifted, like all of those. Right. So I went down that rabbit hole, and go ahead, Mike, you can take that from there. So I was watching those probably for about an hour.
Yeah. And so she's just sitting there, just listening to the videos.
With my headphones on. My headphones were on. In my ears. Yeah, in my ears.
Yeah. Now, here's the part about the story that I think is suspect. So I eventually, she's listening to all this shit, and then she takes one headphone off. She goes, oh my God, was that on? And I'm like, yeah, it was, she's like, oh, it was an accident. She tried to play it off as an accident. But
it was.
I suspect to this day, she was trying to indoctrinate me with the weird shit that was on her computer. At one point, I heard someone say, are you thinking about self-harm? And I was like, this bitch trying to kill herself.
That's not
I'm
true.
not equipped for this. I'm a writer. No, that's not
right.
True.
That's hilarious.
That is not true.
Actually, here's how I remembered it, though. I did take my ear out, but so I'm listening to it. I've got my, headphones in my ear. I'm listening. And you actually stopped me and said, Jodi. And then I took my ear out, and you go, could you plug your earphones in?
Sounds like me.
Yes. Could you, but in the nicest way? And I go, oh my God, did you just hear all of that? And yes, I was definitely embarrassed, because he just heard me listening to an hour's worth of self-help videos about how to get the guy how to get the guy, basically, or get the guy back. It did genuinely start as research. And then, of course, I went down that rabbit hole, because you can't help it.
Yeah, it was because we hadn't known each other for that long at that point. So I didn't want to be like, the fuck you doing? Turn that crazy shit off. But it was, I don't think it was an hour, but it was a long time.
It was a very long time, and I was very embarrassed, because it really, painted me as a very unstable woman. Not that women that watch these videos are unstable, but
you are.
Well, yeah, obviously. Yeah. I'm in comedy,
Right.
I have to be unstable. Speaking about being unstable, for me, I'm just white knuckling life, I feel like, at this moment. How are you handling all of this?
I feel like a lot of this is kind of, it's you could compare it to a controlled burn, or even a natural fire, where people are like, oh, what, this is fucked up, and houses get burned and all that kind of stuff. But then new growth comes from it. I think at certain points in history, things like this have to happen. And as bad as people will look back on 2020 as being for a year, I think a lot of good has come from it, which is kind of, a racial awakening for some. And even politically, I think a lot of what wasn't on the surface is now on the surface.
Yep.
So there was a lot of pretending before, where people, pretended like everything was cool. I would rather us be shouting at each other and discussing some things than keeping things bottled up and silently hating each other, because nothing's going to get figured out that way.
Definitely.
So in those ways, I think 2020 has been good. It's obviously challenging to not see people and be around people. I think right. I'm someone who is pretty okay being solitary. I like my friends, and I love my family, love my friends too, but I was also okay not being around people all the time. But even for someone like me, just the social aspect of being around other people and, just that emotion that you get from other people, I think is something that is missed.
Yes, especially, you know, doing what we do. It's the energy. It's the energy of the other person. When this first started, we were all working remotely. I remember, you know, being on a Zoom call with, you know, some other people from work, and we're going over some stuff. And I was like, I'm broken. Like everything I was saying was like not funny and like weird dad humor. I'm like, what's happening to me? Like, I can't, like all my timing was off. I wasn't like able to like form sentences or just say joke. They were like falling out of I was like, what's happening with me? And I really was like, I've lost it. You know, as comics, we go through those phases too, where we're like, I guess I'm not funny anymore. I guess it's broken and that's it. And then, you know, it's like a shedding of a skin and you come back like stronger and you're like, oh, I got this. And it wasn't until I actually saw someone maybe about 5 or 6 weeks into the lockdown is the first time I actually was in the same room with someone. And we were just having a conversation and I was like, oh, I've got it. It's just, I needed that again. I needed that person to be in front of me and to like sort of, you know what I mean, feed off of that energy, which I think, you know, is hard for us as performers, you know what I mean? Because I also enjoy being alone and my, you know, my alone time and not talking to people, especially like after a long day of work. But I desperately miss stand-up and performing and having that, even if, yes, we can be alone all day, but then we know we have a show at night and that feeds that, you know what I mean? So it feeds that part of our soul. And then we can go back to, you know what I mean, being alone again. But so not even having that is very, very difficult.
And I think you and I are kind of similar in that as tired as we can get from life, we put so much energy and effort into our careers. And I'll just speak for myself, specifically stand-up. Stand-up is, I mean, there's nothing that I love doing more than stand-up. Not sex, not eating, not sleeping. And so, you know, like you said, to not have that, just such a big chunk of your life not there, and there's nothing that replaces it. You know, you know, we can talk about like the beginning of the pandemic and people had all these lofty, I'm going to learn language and I'm going to write a book. And like whatever else I thought I was going to do and some of the things that I did do, nothing has come close to replacing stand-up.
Well, but what language did you learn and what is your book about?
I actually did start Mandarin, but that was before the pandemic and I have not continued it. The book is just about how handsome I am. I mean,
pretty handsome. I love that you're like, nothing compares to stand-up, not sex, not food. But what about doing stand-up while having sex? Does that?
While eating.
Oh, while eating. Yeah, obviously.
And then also taking a nap. I think if you could get those 4 things, I would want someone to kill me then. Because
you could write a book about that.
Yeah.
An educational book.
Yeah, I could. Well, my first book is about how handsome I am. And it's surprising you could get 400 pages out of...
It's crazy. I mean,
crazy.
I thought it would be like, you know, a page and a half, but you got 400, which is excessive.
Listen, you love my face. And there's a chapter about how much Jodi loves my face.
There is, but we don't want to give it away yet. You guys are going to have to buy the book.
Yeah, Barnes and Noble.
Dude, that doesn't exist anymore. I agree with you that you need to burn shit down in order to rebuild. I mean, it's as basic as, you know, every breakdown is a breakthrough. There's so many, you know what I mean? So many ways to say it. I think it's the uncertainty that scares a lot of people, myself included. You know, it's the uncertainty in every aspect in life. And we were definitely in need for this to happen on every level, racially, politically. I feel like the problem for me is, I don't know if it's so much a problem. I think it's just something that concerns me and has for a long time, as far as our country is already so divided, was already so divided politically. There was so much hate already fueled in people that I think it makes me scared because, you know, you just said, you can yell at me, we can yell at each other, but at least we will have a discussion. And so many people aren't even willing to have the discussion. They only want the hate. They only want the yelling part. And that makes people quiet down. myself included, when I'm saying something and somebody's coming at me incredibly aggressively, there's nothing I can say that's going to change their mind. So I completely am just like, okay, I'm just going to stop talking because you aren't ready to hear me. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, so many people, even, I know people that cut people out of their lives after the 2016 election, which I think is ridiculous. I remember someone saying that they stopped talking to their mom because she voted for Trump. And I'm like, really, your mom? Well, like my mom's dead. So be grateful that you have a mom that's alive. Like that's ridiculous to me that you would do that, so that it's kind of started from there, and it's just gotten worse. So I think it's been one of those things where it's just, I wish more people would have more conversations. And you can tell immediately. You post anything on social media, like you commented on the comments and I deleted some of the really hateful ones and left some of the other ones up just because I was like, I don't even want that on my page. Yeah. But you can post one thing and just get hate, like immediately. Like, who's living with that much hate?
Yeah. I mean, I think, so one of the things, because one of the posts you're talking about, you said Black Lives Still Matter, which is great. And I think posts like that, but more importantly, just the mentality and the action behind it are super important as we go forward, because I feel like a lot of people will forget or just get back to their lives. People miss normal, whatever normal was, but normal isn't the same for me as it is for other people.
Yeah.
And so you posted Black Lives Still Matter. You had people who, some of them tried to do like gentle antagonism.
Yes, all lives matter.
Or they'll say something like Black Lives Matter, and you don't have to put, like, if you have to put something there, that statement exists alone. It doesn't need you to explain it. It doesn't need you to justify it. It says everything that it needs to say right there. So if you're saying Black Lives Still Matter, but BLM has certain political beliefs, listen, okay, they are a political organization. You can still support Black lives. You don't have to put a butt on Black Lives Matter. You don't have to say Blue Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is not the antithesis to cops, or it's just Black Lives Matter. Doesn't mean, but we hate someone else. So I think some people are just going to be unreasonable. And I think what you're seeing in the reactions to you is appreciated, that you're willing to go through that, because that's something that Black people have experienced since forever. And, during the civil rights movement, there were white allies, there were allies of all different colors who stood there and took those hoses and those dogs along with us. And so this is kind of the current version of that. It happens online. And I mean, you can only speak to the people who are willing to listen. I think one of the problems is people have gotten to a point where they've allowed their personal values to replace morality. So in other words, what I believe is more important than what's right or wrong. And so that's why there's a lot of division. That's why when you see people presented with facts, they're like, I don't give a shit about facts. This is how I feel. And so that to me is kind of the major problem, is when you get to that level of individuality, it's tough to have a discussion, because you're so ingrained in what you believe and what you feel.
And it's unfortunate because, and I've said this before, but it is the younger generations that, we really need to reach specifically to ensure that these changes stay, or changes are made, and that they continue on. And when these kids today are older and they have kids, it'll be, you know what I mean? Like it's going to take generations, and it's unfortunate that you can't have a discussion with people that have kids now. So to help them educate their kids, to have those uncomfortable conversations with those children that shouldn't be uncomfortable conversations. Like, you should just be having these conversations with them, but they're not willing to even hear. It's difficult. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, I think also though, those things shouldn't be a challenge for parents if you just look at it based on what I said of having morality. If you're just a good person and treat people in a way that's kind, and just think of the ways that you want to be treated. It's that simple,
Right.
you know? And so I think people make it more difficult than it than it has
I think
to
they
be
do
sometimes.
too. I also think a lot of people can easily, they don't want to have the conversations with their kids. It's easier for them to just do nothing, to just be like, okay, well, I don't even want to, you know what I mean? I've never said anything racist. I don't really believe that, but I'm not even going to like educate my kids about like, hey, this is what, you know, other people have gone through. This is their struggles. You know what I mean? You should just remember to be kind. They don't say anything. So their kids are looking at their parents as their role models and how they should act. And if their parents are just completely ignoring everything that's going on, you know, they will probably ignore it too, or they'll have to learn from their friends. And if their friends have a different belief because their parents had a different belief. So it is like, I agree with you. Like, you should definitely be a good person. We should definitely be talking to our, you know, the younger generations, whether they're our kids or you just grab a kid off the street. I'll just grab a child off the fucking street and be like, get over here, kid.
Yeah.
But just grab someone else's child, just be like, you're gonna listen to me. I think, you know, unfortunately we have to say something, because if we don't say anything, they're gonna probably just follow our lead for the most part.
No, you're definitely right. You have to be purposeful in those discussions if that's something that you're interested in doing. I was talking to a friend of mine, white friend. We've known each other, you know, since we were 11. You know, his kids are my niece and nephew.
Right. Yeah.
And even for him, you know, I was like, look, at some point, it would be advisable to have conversations with them about race. I'm not going to do it if you don't want to, but it would be advisable. They're young now, so there's an age appropriateness to it. But even for super young children, there's books about how to introduce young children to issues of race and inequality and those sorts of things. So he said, I mean, I guess I could, but I don't know, like her or their aunt is Black, because his wife's family has different people. So I don't know, they'll see it. And so his thinking was, you know, they'll see you, they'll see her. And so that'll be their understanding. And I don't represent all Black people. And so.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I'd be a fine representative, but it's too much power for me. I'm too fucking.
You'd be drunk with power every day. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, you know, in addition to that, you know, even if we were the greatest two Black people of all time, that still doesn't address issues of inequality, of, you know, education disparities, income. So like they have to be active conversations if those are things that you're interested in doing.
Yes, agreed. And, you know, you will also be an uncle to my child when I adopt my child.
Yes.
Yes, good.
I've pushed for a Black child.
You have.
And I would definitely have to be an uncle, because I don't want you to fuck them up. Me. Yeah, no, I don't. I don't know.
You just don't want my child growing up like all about cats. And side grades, like you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna have to step in.
Somebody's gonna have to teach you how to do that baby's hair. I can't have you with the hair looking like Sideshow Bob.
Talking about it's gonna look amazing.
Yeah, amazingly fucked up.
Sideshow Bob. I mean, you know, I'm getting a baby, hopefully, you know, I'm going through that adoption process, but I swear to God, with this like lockdown at this point, I would probably adopt an adult, because I'm fucking lonely. I would probably I'll adopt you if you want to come over. I mean, I just need someone else in my house at this point.
Yeah.
Take care of anyone.
What are you doing to, because I like we talked about, you know, how social we are as comics. What are you doing to just kind of try to keep that up?
Well, to be honest with you, I definitely struggled those first 5 weeks. I was really struggling, really suffering from like depression, and I don't suffer from depression. And so it's not usual for me to, it's just not usual for me to be in a depressive state for a long period of time. So that was very, very difficult. And the longer it went on, it was like, you know, there's a reason they torture prisoners by putting them in solitary confinement, because that's not how we're hardwired. And I hadn't touched another human being in like almost 5 weeks, except for the guy that I grew up to the grocery store.
Yeah,
no,
and yourself.
I was like, how fresh are these bananas? Whoa! Then I'm kicked out of Ralph's. But no, I mean, I was listening to my friends and my family that were quarantining with someone and talking about how like, oh, I want to kill this person. And I was actually finding myself being sort of resentful, which is another feeling I didn't want to have, because they had someone to quarantine with, whether it was a child, a parent, a significant other. They had someone, a family. They're like, we're going on family trips. And I'm like, it's different for people alone. It really is like talking to no one, you know, like I obviously talk to my cat a lot, but I'm not a crazy person. Like I know that it's not the same. Well, I mean a little bit, but no, but you know what I mean? I was like, I no one answering back, like not touching another person, not like, it was really fucking with my psyche. And I was really, really depressed and sort of spiraling. And then I realized that I'm going to have to, you know, do a lot more self-care. And then after, 5 or 6 weeks is when the first time I like hung out with someone. And then a couple of weeks after that, I went up to Santa Barbara to see my 2 friends. And that was what I needed. And I also needed to like get out in my car and just drive. Like just do something that seemed normal, like yelling at people in traffic. It's like we laugh about it, but that actually made me really feel normal to just be like, what the fuck? Do you know how to drive? And then I was so happy. I was like, that felt so good. Just getting gas, just doing anything, you know what I mean, made me feel more connected to the world, because you're just, you know, in your home all day long. Even though we were on Zoom calls all day long, it did not feel the same. I felt even those relationships felt weird and strained, because we're all, you know, under pressure. And again, like I had that weird resentment, which I didn't want to feel, of people talking about like, oh, so-and-so and we're just going to make dinner tonight. And then, you know, oh, I'm going to watch that show, but I got to watch it with, you know, my husband or whatever. And I felt like I didn't want to hear it. So I pulled away even more, you know what I mean? Because I was like, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah. And I think often people that are in relationships, like will try to make it, we give that like obligatory with the old ball and chain kind of thing. Yeah. But in honesty, you know, you wouldn't be with a person for most people unless there wasn't a mutual benefit, unless you, you know, didn't care about them. And so I, as someone who is in a relationship, I will say that I know for a fact it's harder for people that don't live with someone or that are single. It's absolutely harder for them. You know, sure, there's people who have been abused that are in marriages in this quarantine. And so it's hard on all of us, but if you have friends that are single or that live alone, you know, you should check on them. You should make efforts to keep them involved, because you can't really relate to their situation. My mom lives alone, so I know this, and I know all the things that you're talking about are similar. It's just, and she keeps her network of friends and things like that, and she goes out and drives, just like you said, but it's still important to go see people, to, you know, Zoom with them, whatever level of contact you all are comfortable with. Just make sure that you're not leaving people alone.
No, and I really appreciated you checked on me a lot, even though we were, you know, working. But you still checked in on me, which was great. And I really appreciated that. Just anybody, you know what I mean? Just throwing that out there, you know, like, hey, how you doing? And even if I was like really depressed and didn't want to talk to someone, you know, because you or some other of my friends would check in on me, I felt good at that moment just to be like, okay, like I know that I'm not like completely alone. Like if I was like, I'm in such a bad place that anybody would pick up the phone or, you know, or Zoom call. And we're all just figuring it out. And I mean, it's definitely better now. And now I have like my group of friends that I see regularly. I'm really fortunate that I've got like a really big space in my backyard. So, you know, people can come over and we can sit safely, Or, you know, if I've already hung out with you, then, you know, I have like my core group of people that I've hung out with now several times, and we know where each other have, you know, has been. So now it's like you're in my little quarantine circle. And I think that's how it's going to start until there is some sort of, you know what I mean, fix, whatever that is. For some people, it'll be a vaccine. For other people, it'll just be, you know, their own immunity, or whatever it comes up, you know what I mean? But like, until then, I think it's slowly build your circle. Have you seen your mom yet? Or you've seen your mom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm not
really
around.
Careful, obviously.
Yeah, I'm not around people. I mean, before I was going to Costco and going to the store and stuff like that. And as our cases have kind of spiked in LA County,
right.
This is, well, whatever, I'll let you say the time. But as cases have kind of gone up, you know, I've kind of pulled back from going to those store trips just so I
right.
reduce the chance that I give something to her.
Right.
But when I go over there, yeah, I'm socially distant. I'm in the, you know, backyard. I've got my mask on because
right.
she's older and, you know, she's had immune things. And so just trying to be extra careful. And one thing I'll add is that's why it's sad to me when I hear people say, you know, either that they're young or that their children are young. You know, I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to wear a mask because of this, that, and the other. And even if you are young, even if whatever, you don't know if you could give it to someone else. You know, none of us are experts. I'm not a virologist or.
Well,
I did that little.
You
PhD.
dabble. You definitely dabble in it. You're a dabbler.
Yeah. But like, you know, taking precautions when most of us aren't experts, I think is a good thing. So
yeah, I agree. Especially in sex. Speaking of, I did go on a date. I went on a date last night, and you know, there was a little bit of kissing goodnight, which is like whatever. I mean, and I got, you know, a test afterwards. It's the new STD test. The Corona test is the new STD test. And it was negative, guys. I'm negative.
Oh, yay.
Yay. But it is going to be like the new STD test. Like before you go on a date, before you like get physical, you're going to have to show up like negative. Or like they'll have tests just like right at the table. I definitely felt a sense of like confidence once that negative came back. I also did it incorrectly too, because I did one of those drive-through ones and you just swab yourself, and they had to call me. I had to come back and do it again because I didn't understand. Like I'm not a doctor. I don't know what I'm doing.
No,
or
certainly
a nurse.
not. Far from it.
Well, I have operated. Hey, I'm a smooth operator.
Okay,
Bam.
let's calm down.
All right, little shut in there. Anyway, so for those of you who don't know, and that's probably everyone, Mike used to swipe for me in our office. He feels like he knows me better than me, or knows what I want in a man. Is that correct? Is that how you feel?
It's more who will be the best long-term partner for you. You know, I think that what you were looking for was just off, and it was skewed. And
how is it skewed? Tell the people what I was looking for. What do you think I was looking for?
Man buns.
That's not true, by the way.
Guys who wear biker shorts.
That's so not true.
It's a weird sort of fetish, but there is a community for it.
Definitely.
You know, and so those are your two top characteristics for biker shorts and man buns.
That's actually on my profile. That's actually what I was looking for.
In bold. I was like, yeah. So I wanted to find someone who would respect you, who was funny, intelligent, and you know, made good money and all those good things, you know.
Okay.
And so that was
the criteria. That was your criteria.
Exactly.
And how many successful dates did I go on with your matching?
Well, that's your fault. You know, if you show up and act like an asshole, listen.
I do normally walk right into a date and I'm like, hey, fucker.
Yeah.
Are we drinking or what? Usually that's how I know.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's the men. I think you need to like work on me.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, how much time? We've talked about time, right?
I know, seriously. We just don't have enough time. Well, since we're not in the same room, and I can't wait until we're together again, so you can actually physically swipe for me. I've decided, and I'm not going to tell anyone which app I'm using, or I'm not going to use the real names, so nobody be all like, well, what are you doing? But I'm going to read some profiles, and you tell me if I should swipe right or left, and I will do whatever you say.
Okay. Remind me, I'm sorry, which one is to accept and which is to reject?
So left is to reject.
Okay.
And right is, I hate that people that have been in relationships don't know anything about dating apps. You can go fuck yourself, okay? All the people that are like, I don't know how to use a dating app. I've been in a relationship forever.
Okay. Left, reject, same E sound. Got it.
So I'm going to read you their questions and then their answers, and you tell me like good or bad, okay? I'm not even going to say names or anything, so everybody calm down. Okay. What makes me happy? Love, immersing myself in sights, sounds, and smells of different cultures. So much to share and experience.
I mean, what the fuck is this? Sleepless in Seattle. Come on, man. He's talking about I love, poetry in the beginning. Listen, we all want ass, but just be a little bit more real, man. This dude is sitting here. I imagine him with his legs crossed, floating on a magic carpet with candles in the background. Definitely has a man
actually
bun.
That's a pretty good guess.
Yeah, we don't need some dude who's gonna run if a burglar breaks in. Next, let's get him out of here.
Okay, next. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So I'm only going to read like one other. I don't want to give anything away because then people can figure out like, oh, let me go see if I can find this person. Okay. So here's this dude, and he answered the question. My mantra is, be happy for this moment. This moment is your life, and life is all in caps.
I'll say left first, so we get that out of the way.
But do you think that's a bad mantra? Be happy for this moment because this moment is your life?
I mean, what the fuck does that mean? This moment is your life. No shit. Everyone's a philosopher.
Don't live in the moment. They're waiting for the next thing to happen. That's what we do instead of enjoying the journey, blah, blah, blah.
Just trust me. These dudes are taking these from fortune cookies like this. It's everybody who puts these in their profiles, they're saying this is what's going to get me ass. So I respect the people who are just more direct about it.
You're right. All right. So how about this one? The key to my heart is, and he put wolves.
The key to his heart is a woman who's willing. Come on, fellas.
So
be real.
That's what he should have put, right?
Put it up front. What you're looking for. The key to my heart. What is this?
So no to wolf guy?
Left. Okay. Wolves, no. Get them out of here.
How about this one? You should leave a comment if what? And he put, you like tall, active West Side men with kids that work at startup companies, like to travel, eat great food, talk about real shit, dance and have fun.
Okay, I like that better just because he's getting to the point. No guarantee that this guy isn't going to be an asshole as well. Question for you. Is the kids thing, is that an issue?
No, it's not a deal breaker for me.
Okay. Just so we don't have a blowout with rejections, we'll give this guy a right just because he was a little bit more honest.
Okay, but then I'm doing it, guys.
Okay. Incumbent upon you to ask the follow-up questions. Have you been to prison? You know, are you a mama's boy? Can you curl toes in the bedroom? Important things to answer.
Those are the important things. The prison and the curl toes are way more important. I'm convinced, this is a different guy. I'm convinced that people who have overcome difficult childhoods have a really great perspective on life.
Okay, this guy's a serial killer. Wants you to swipe left immediately.
Gotcha.
He's being too honest. He's saying a lot of weird shit happened to me and I'm not over it. And I will murder you. Yeah, can't have you with him.
Okay, here's the last one. All right, last guy. All I ask is that you, what? Be genuinely happy and authentic.
This guy's coming off of a divorce. You can
definitely. Oh yeah.
Yeah, like his
like
wife.
psychic.
His wife used to shit on him. She's like, "You tiny dick bastard."
Oh, she used to shit on him that way.
Kids.
I thought you meant like he had a fetish and she used to shit.
No. Well, probably. Yeah, he's probably a cuck. But no, his ex-wife just used to dog the guy. And so now the first thing he puts out there is, "I just want you to be authentic with me." No. Get out of here.
Get the hell out of here, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Can you say that?
I can say get out of here.
Okay.
Thank you for helping me with that. That's really helpful. We'll have to play this little swipe for Jodi again soon.
We'll do it. Show everyone your nails, Jodi. You're looking good. You're doing a good job.
Thank you. I broke one. Look at me, everyone. You can't see the ones that are listening to this. You can't see it, but my nails are on point.
Yeah,
woo! Thank you so much, Mike, for being my guest.
Thank you. It was fun.
Tell everyone where they can find you.
Right now you can just go get the special at laugh.eventbrite.
Yes.
.com.
Oh God. Don't sing.
C flat.
It was a little sharp.
Yeah, it sounded flat too. All right.
No, I love your singing. It's great. No, everybody, seriously, go right now. Get a special. Everybody needs to laugh. And this guy will make you laugh. And I'll be posting everything too. So for those of you who are like, what did he say? Where is it? Don't worry. I'm going to be posting everything with all the links so you'll know what to do. Thank you for being here. I miss your face, like in person.
Miss you too. Miss you too, Jodi.
I know.
As crazy as you are, miss our talks.
I know. You miss learning all about relationships from YouTube videos. I know you do. I'll send you some of my favorites.
Yeah, but I don't have the benefit of you crazily pretending that you didn't know that I could hear it.
I know. Yeah. I was trying to like subliminally like brainwash you, send those like ideas into your head. You're awesome. I love you. And everybody, please don't forget to subscribe, like, review, everything, all that fun stuff so that you are up to date on all of my latest episodes. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm Jodi Miller. This is Don't Call Me Ma'am. And remember, don't fucking call me ma'am. That's it. We did it.